Hello, everybody. Mike, are you able to give us the offering, the mandala? Looks like you're having breakfast somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Oh,
No, I'm still barely hear you. Okay, I'll do the mandala. Please make the mudra. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, let's do our rejoicing. Svetlana, what do you have to rejoice about this morning?
Hello, Venerable Sumati. Yeah, I would like to rejoice in my efforts of peaceful, calm mind. Like today, I tried to be concentrated on my tasks and not to rush on something else, not to distract to the phone, not to go to a fancy coffee shop to grab a coffee, get a chocolate or something. So I tried like to be concentrated, reminding about bodhicitta, and this inner concentration and motivation helped a lot to sustain peace of mind. So I dedicate these efforts that everyone could realize their highest potential for the benefit of others.
Good, good. Yeah, that's it's a challenge every day, and it's easy to think, well, maybe today I'll take a break, but nope, you gotta keep it in the forefront of your mind. Okay, Wendy, you're up next.
Thanks. Hi. I had a wonderful experience last night. I was out on my bike, and it's cherry season. Cherries are in bloom or in fruit where I live. And on the route that I took, there was a couple of cherry trees. So I stopped and I picked some cherries, was eating the cherries. And there was a little stoat that I found out that was watching me while I was doing this. I had a wonderful little experience with the stoat. And it was such a beautiful moment, and I had such a great feeling about it, and I dedicated it to everybody else, hoping that they have access. Anybody that needs it has access to food as easily as what I did tonight, and wonderful experiences with the environment that they're in. So it was a really special little moment, and nice to share that mentally, at least, with anyone that might have needed it.
Nice. What's a stoat?
It's like a weasel, like a
Oh,
little
yeah.
rodent
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Wow. Cherries. Oh, you know, the nice thing about cherries for me, I had my appendix out, so I don't worry about spitting out the pits. I just eat the cherries. I love cherries. I absolutely love cherries.
They're good. They're good.
Wow.
The stone
Wow.
gives you some extra fiber too.
Yeah, that's, yeah, good point. Okay. Sharon, what do you have to rejoice about?
Добрый день. А, Вчера был Father's Day. Это первый раз в моей жизни. И вчера рано утром у меня была пробежка, и первый человек, которого я встретил, поздравил меня с этим праздником. И да, переведете?
Hello, dear Sumati, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm. Suren is rejoicing about the fact that yesterday was the Father's Day, and he went for running. And the first person he met during his running practice celebrated him with this day, Father's Day.
И потом моя дочь поздравила меня, она испекла мне булочки и подарила конфеты, мои любимые мне. И мне было это очень приятно. Во-первых, это был первый раз в моей жизни. Во-вторых, моя дочь уже выросла до такого возраста, что может делать мне подарки.
And then also he's rejoicing about the fact that his daughter is old enough to make presents for his father, for Suren,
Right.
and she baked some rolls for him and made such present, and also she made a present his favorite sweets, his favorite sweets. So
Wow.
he's rejoicing about it.
Wow. What's your favorite sweet? Yeah. Oh.
It's
Oh, yeah.
Switzerland, Lindor.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
from Switzerland,
Yes.
I didn't catch the name.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw the package. Very good. I try and eat those and let them melt before I chew them. And I can't do that. I can never get it all the way melted first. But I can eat my weight in those things, boy. Okay. Well, very good. How old's your daughter?
17.
She's 17.
17. Wow. Wow. Well, excellent. Okay, let's see who's next. Katya.
Hi, hello everybody. I rejoice that yesterday I also celebrate the Father's Day with my father and my family. And I really enjoy and love seeing my father very happy and full of health and with a lot of energy. So I really feel happy about that and that he's strong. And I dedicate it so that all people can enjoy happy moments with their family.
Very good. Very good. I had one of my students considers me his father, the father he never had. And so he always makes a fuss over me for Father's Day. So it was nice. But wait, that's my rejoicing. We're not doing my rejoicing now. Daria, what do you have to rejoice about?
Good morning, Venerable Sumati. Natalia, today I need a translator, please. Окей. Хорошо, если слышно меня. Ага. Ну, вы давали задание домашнее, я его сделала. Я рада. Ну, благодаря этому заданию я отслеживала. И первое, мама мне сказала, я отреагировала, ну так, раздражением, я потом стоп. Она говорит, я чуть-чуть стала останавливать это один раз. Вот. А второе, Наталья, можно?
I can't hear you.
The first part, Daria has told me that you gave us the homework, a task, and she has completed this task. She was trying to trace herself, to concentrate on her reactions. And the first thing that she has shared is that she reacted with irritation to her mother, to something, and she stopped herself.
И второе, моя босс, начальница, она всех позвала на как вечеринку такую. День медицинского работника поздравляли. И так как я не люблю, я не пошла. И она, не расстроилась, она сказала, говорит, ну вот плохо, что не пошли. Я запомню. Я начала раздражаться, как всегда. Я начала вот субботу, воскресенье, вот какая она плохая, вот какая. Потом думаю, стоп. Лама Сумати сказала за собой наблюдать. Я опять, нет, какая она плохая, она же сама по себе, она сама по себе. Потом, нет, Лама Сумати сказал, надо за собой, она же из меня. И у меня до сих пор я до сих пор на нее злюсь, но все равно, что она из меня. Нет, я не пошла, но продолжила злиться на нее. Да. Но все равно, как останавливался, что она из меня. Потом, нет, она сама по себе.
Well, I'll try to translate. The second part, her boss, Daria's boss, invited Daria to a celebration of the medicine worker, well, a special holiday for medicine workers. But Daria didn't accept the invitation. She didn't go to this celebration. And at the same time, during the weekend, she was catching herself about this irritation to her boss. And at one moment, she was thinking that she's self-existent, this boss, and that she's coming from herself. And then Daria stopped herself and started to think that no, it is wrong. The boss is coming from me, and she's not self-existent. So I, as far as I understood, she was rejoicing about the fact that she. Just a moment.
No, she's awful. What I said, not stop. She's perfect. No, she's awful. And I don't know how stopping this in my mind.
Very good. Very good. Oh, I'm proud of you. Catch yourself and react properly. That's what this is all about. So, very good. Okay, who's next in my line here? Mike. No. Okay. Well, I need to get the chat. I don't see. Chat. I'm not seeing anything. No? I
He's
don't,
typing.
he's typing,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Okay, he's typing. We'll go to who's left? I see Yevgeny. Okay, Yevgeny's not here. Camilla, I see your ceiling.
I still rejoice constantly and every time, and keep donating it to the job. I'm still waiting for an answer, but particularly, last night I really rejoiced that I taught a friend of mine who spent the weekend with how to rejoice and the steps of rejoicing and how to do it. And then she was so happy about how to rejoice that we then both rejoiced that we rejoiced. And then we donated it to the joy and the happiness of the who we just rejoiced it for. And then after we rejoiced the rejoice of the rejoice, then donated it both to my job, still waiting for an answer.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's how rejoicing works. Nice. Must be a good feeling.
Yeah, it was really good. And we had to laugh a lot. So yeah, no, it's good.
Good. I have Natalia Pranina. Do you want to do rejoicing? No, I don't. I guess not. Okay, Mike, I'm trying to see if I don't have anything on my chat from you. There it is. Huh. Well, good. Good. That's very important. What kind of bug bit you? No. Okay. I have to excuse myself for just a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. Well, who's left? I think it's me. Okay, what do I have to rejoice about? I think I finally figured out what was wrong with my computer. I had to reinstall Microsoft Office. I opened a file from a historian and corrupted my Excel. And I spent hours trying to fix it. And finally, the Microsoft engineer said, we just need to reload Microsoft Office. So we did, and everything's fine. But it was distressing to not be able to use the program properly, and especially since it came from somebody in the Air Force. But anyway, I got some pictures I've been waiting for 2 weeks, and they are everything I hoped they'd be. Brilliant color photographs that have never seen the light of day. So I rejoice in the fact that all the help I've given others with when they need information has come back to my getting what I needed in a timely fashion. So that means obviously I've got to continue helping others when they request information, do it quickly and with joy. So the only difference is I don't charge for my my assistance, but okay. What else is there to rejoice about? Oh, one of my students from Britain is coming to visit on Wednesday. She's going to visit me for 3 days and go back home. I just find it extraordinary that someone wants to so badly to meet me in person. That's fine with me. I just am amazed. So we're going to have fun. She's going to get to experience 110-degree heat in Tucson, which I'm not sure she's ready for, but okay. I've told you many times that there will be a day when there's a long class that's more than an hour. Today's the day. We're going to have a very complete class on, let me get this window. Don't want that. There we go. This is a class 5, how karma is carried. Geshe Michael relates at the beginning of the class how after 16 years of study of the Abhidharma Kosha, he had not found anything about how karma is carried or where it stays in your mind. So this class utilizes the total the Madhyamika Prasangika text, the total illumination of the true thought of the middle way by Jezon. It explains the mind-only school, and which is how karma works, which is basically accepted by all of the Madhyamika Prasangika. So Geshe Michael relates that when he got to this subject, when his teacher went through this subject, this is the first and only time he interrupted his teacher and said, "This sounds great to me. I don't see anything wrong with it. Is this really correct?" And his teacher said, "It is correct. We can accept this." So with the teaching we're going to do today, this allowed Geshe Michael to fully believe in karma because it sounded so rational to him. Now, I don't for a minute think he didn't believe in karma up until then, but this is an explanation that I think it's heavy, it's a lot, some rough sledding, but I think this will help you all understand how karma works and have a resource for it. So this is how the mind-only school says karma works. There are 3 elements for each karmic seed ripening. First, we're going to use the angry boss example. An angry person is yelling at you. Number 2, your eye faculty, the actual physical eye, enables you to see this person and transmit this information to your brain as colors and shapes. Your brain puts a label on them. Number 3, based on this consciousness, and awareness grows, You see the person as a collections of colors and shapes. You've created a karma of someone yelling at you. You've ripened a seed to see someone yelling at you. There isn't any interpretation going on, good, bad, or neutral. It's just awareness of the face. Now, the mind-only school, this concept of a kunchi, a foundation consciousness, there's a storehouse where karmic seeds, mental seeds are stored, as if separate from your mind stream. Now, they use the 6 consciousnesses, which are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. It also adds the kunchi. We don't accept the kunchi. I'm going to describe it just for thoroughness, but we don't accept that there's a place other than your mind stream that karmic seeds are stored. The seed ripens. The kunchi produces a mental event that looks like your eye. It is your eye faculty, the physical organ, not an interpretation, but it's just sensing shapes and colors. The mental event is the guy yelling at you, which comes from a seed ripening to have an eye faculty that generates a color and shape that your mind interprets. The seed causes an influence, which looks to you like your eye power, which is really just a consciousness. So here's the bottom line. The mind only says there are no outer objects at all. They are not physical. Anytime you think you see something outside, it's just you seeing your mind looking like that. Now, I know this is confusing, but just hang in there, and I think this makes sense. They would say, mind-only school says there are no external physical objects. It's all in your mind. The seed ripens and begins to give you a result, recreating an awareness of the person's face, which grows out of your knowledge of people's faces stored in your kunchi. It produces a mental event that encompasses your eye consciousness. In mind only, emptiness means that one karmic seed is responsible for the eye consciousness, the aspect of your mind, the interpretation of what the eye sees, the eye itself, and the object the eye is looking at. All of this is coming from your mind, and there are no separate seeds. Okay, sorry. There are no separate seeds for the perceiver and the object perceived. Your experience of the whole universe is your experience in your mind. This is very, very profound, and it's very close to what's actually happening. The way you get enlightened is you plant all the right seeds in your mind stream, and then you see yourself as an immortal deity in a paradise. Just imagining yourself as a deity won't work because your actions aren't coming from the right seeds. All the seeds must be planted correctly to yield yourself as a deity. This is why morality is the basis of enlightenment. However, and this is the key point, you can have a good attitude about an unpleasant object, which will plant the pleasurable future seed, but it's too late to change the seed that's ripening. But if we catch ourselves, and this is the tricky part, if you catch yourself before you do react badly, then in the case of the angry person, you can know that there's one less angry person for you to project. So mind-only school again. You yell at someone. As the deed comes to its conclusion, a seed is planted in what they call the kunchi. So how does this seed stick around? It's a changing thing. Each instance is changing. The thing that affects the nature of how it changes is your motivation and the object, as we listed earlier. If you yell at someone, it produces a result of you being yelled at. Is it a person yelling at you later? No. The first thing produced by a karmic seed, according to the mind-only school, is consciousness. Then in our example with sight, the eye faculty, and then what you see. What are you looking at if you see a book? You're looking at what the kunchi has emanated, not as a projection. This is higher school, but emanating meaning the mind takes on an image. This is not clear to me, but it's only in the mind, not outside in any form. That's where mind-only school and Madhyamika Prasangika differ. Yes, it's in your mind, but we project out into our existence something physical. That physical thing is dependent on our mind. It's not coming at us. We're projecting it. So we're materializing in our existence. This is my interpretation. In my existence, my karmic seeds are ripening. And as they ripen, I project, I materialize, if you will. I materialize my world. So it's coming from my mind only, in the sense that it's coming from my projections. So it's very important to realize that my projections, as I'm materializing the world. And I don't know why we don't use that word more often. But for instance, I'm looking at this mess that's my computer desk. I'm materializing all of this at 65 times per second. So it is out there. I can touch it. It is dependent on my mind. So does that make it more or less real? It's real. I can touch it. But it's transitory in that my karma could shift and all this could be gone in a heartbeat, because it's my projections. You've got to understand, and this is the hardest thing. When we talk about projections, it's easy to think, well, if it's a projection, it's not real. And maybe that's where the English language doesn't do this concept justice. And I think materialize is a better term than project, a projection. Where do I want to go from there? So a seed is not self-existent. It's a changing thing. So the student had two questions for Geshe Michael at this point. If you yell at someone, it continues to ripen as discrete events up until the time it ripens. Why don't you perceive it as yourself yelling at someone again? So I yell at my lovely wife. When the seed ripens, I don't see myself yelling at her. I see her yelling at me. So why is that true? You think if I see myself yelling at someone, then when the seed ripens, I should see myself yelling at someone again. I don't have a good answer for that. Neither did Geshe Michael. It's a totally incompatible result. It should just be yourself yelling. The definition of a non-virtue is an unpleasant result. There's something about it that reverses, and Geshe Michael did not have a good answer for that. So let's explore that a little bit. You yell at somebody, it plants a seed for an unpleasant occurrence. And that occurrence ripens, seems to correlate to ripen as someone yelling at you. So why wouldn't it be when it ripened, it's you yelling at someone again? Because you're yelling at someone, to me, you're yelling at someone isn't the unpleasant result of your having yelled at someone. Being yelled at is the unpleasant result. So it's kind of like what you've done to somebody else is coming back. Let's see, Mike, does it ripen as someone yelling, or is me experiencing someone yelling as unpleasant? Well, that's an interesting question. What's the difference? You see, what do you see as the difference there? How you feel? Well, let's think about that. No, here's a good example. I think I've relayed to you that the last time I got really angry. I mean, really angry. Did I relay this to you? I was coming down the hill from our cabin, and we were building the cabin, and I saw someone had parked their truck on top of the septic field for one of our buildings. And I repeatedly had told people not to park there. And so I'm about 50, 60 yards away, and I'm running down the hill and I'm screaming at this guy. I know it's hard to believe I could get that angry, but that happened probably, oh golly, that happened 20 years ago. But I was really annoyed. And I got down there. I'd cooled off by the time I got down there. But I believe what happened was years later, the individual I was yelling at started yelling at me on the debate ground and was very upset with me. And that was unpleasant. So that, I believe, was the karma ripening for the event that I did when I was mad at him. But still, why wouldn't I be yelling at him? I think it's because what we've done when I yell at someone, I'm setting the seed. I think Mike has a good point. I'm setting the seed for creating an unpleasant event for another person. And that's going to come back to me as an unpleasant event for me. And then maybe that's the karma. Well, that makes sense to me. But why would it reverse? What the karma is not so much at yelling at someone else. I think this is what Mike was saying. The karma is causing someone to be upset, unpleasant. I made someone unpleasant by yelling at them. So that's ripening for me as someone making me unpleasant. Uncomfortable, I guess I should say. We'll have to think about that a little more. Would anybody else have a thought on that? Go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, I'm very similar to the way Mike's expressed it and the way you were just finally formulating it there as well, is that it's not always a one-to-one, because it's not yelling that's the thing. You could yell at a child to stop them running out on the road, and that's not a bad thing. So it's not actually the raising of your voice or the volume of your voice. You can also scream in excitement because somebody's got a job and congratulate them, and that can be a good thing, but it's the impact of it. So it's not always a direct one-to-one of what the yelling might be the action. It could be your motivation, it could be something else. So it's thinking about the bigger picture of it and not just one narrow part of it. I guess it's a lot more complex to think of. So yeah, it's I like the idea of thinking what the result is and not always necessarily just the pure action of what it is, but it's what was that result. So it could be if you yelled at someone and made them feel very upset, someone would then make you feel upset, but not necessarily yell. They might just call you a bad name or something that you find very, very upsetting, but they're not necessarily going to yell. Or it could be they could type something or whatever. It could be a different form, but the feeling is still the same.
Yeah, I think that makes, well, what you said at the start was it's not the yelling that's the issue. It's what the yelling causes, because you're right. Yelling and joy. Yeah, I like that. Go ahead.
Isn't it like, to build on what Wendy said? Well, yes, the action, but then again, there are reasons why, it's actually safe to yell a child to stop running off on a red street. But isn't it the intention I'm doing it? Because I can speak in the sweetest and kindest voice, and English is such a beautiful language to be so kind, but it's the meanest, most bitchiest comment you can make. So isn't it the intention behind it?
Yeah. Yes.
More than the action? Aren't I starting it by creating the thought?
Yes.
When I think, she's such an idiot, but loud out, I'm saying, oh, I believe she reached the top of her capacity.
Yeah. That's karma is movement of the mind and what it creates in body and thought and was it thought and speech and action. So yeah, I think if we look at that definition, the movement of the mind is causing someone to be upset. And that comes back to me by someone causing me to be upset. Yeah. Oh, that brings to mind, I was looking, I promised you I'd look into this idea of karma having to ripen. And I think I think if you really look carefully at how we teach, how we should teach karma, the 4 laws of karma, is the more correct way of teaching it is to get to the 4th law and say karma must ripen unless, and give the 2 caveats, unless you get angry at a bodhisattva and that destroys your root of virtue. So those karmas can't ripen. And unless you do the 4 powers and damage the karmic seed by doing the 4 powers. And we tend to teach the 4 powers and the root of virtue issue later. So now when I go through the laws of karma, I'm going to put in those 2 caveats. And then the teaching's complete. And we're not saying that there's karma that must ripen. Where does that fit into the equation? Okay. So the Majjhimika Prasangika says this idea of a storehouse, a kunshi, it resides in your mind stream. There's no reason for it to need its own storage space. The mind stream of Mike is the flow of Mike's mind stream, according to Dzongkapa. It's also called the simple unexamined me, the simple unawareness of you, that is where the seeds stay. Where does the karma stay? It stays in your mind stream. Now, how is that different than saying it stays in the kunshi? That I'm not sure. I have no trouble accepting that it's in my mind stream. I don't know then why there's a need for this other place to store it. You perceive yourself as yelling to someone. This is Majjhimika Prasangika. You perceive yourself yelling at someone. That perception plants a seed. Your perception of what you did mostly forms the seed. There's another contributor to the seed's formation. That's the deed itself. So the deed flowers into a result. That's why your motivation is the most important component of karma after the actual object. So here we go, one more time. There's a famous verse that's in your reading. You're supposed to memorize it. It's called the Sutra requested by Upali. And it basically says that heaven is made by your mind. Master Shantideva has a quotation that says hell is made by your mind. Who made hell? It's nobody else. You made hell. The hell you made is specific to your bad deeds. You make it in your own mind. Does that mean if you're in a bad mood, this world looks like hell? No, it means that there really is a place where beings are in millions of years of torment. And that's the hell you created by your karma. But that hell is not self-existent. There's not a hell out there that I'm going to. There's the hell that I've created that I will go to if that's what seeds ripen when I die. Now, I would kind of differ with this. I think there are hells out there in my world. The battles in Ukraine, the terrible things that happened to the various mass shootings, the invasion of Gaza, the attack on that music festival, all those things are hells to me, but they're coming from me. They seem to be out there, but they're coming from me. And I think the most obvious example to me as of late, how everything's coming from me and is not self-existent, is this whole presidential election. I can't see how anybody cannot think that former President Trump is nuts to think the election, he was robbed of the election. There is absolutely no evidence that he has been robbed of the election, yet there are hundreds of thousands of people that believe it. That's their projections. The whole reason it could be that other people believe it is because this whole thing is not self-existent. That doesn't mean it's not real. It's very real. They think they think that the election was stolen. It's very clear to me that it wasn't, but it's very clear to them that it was. So who's right? We both are. And that's one of the hardest things to accept with karma and emptiness. We're both right because it's not self-existent. It depends on our karmic seeds and how they ripen, our motivation and how they ripen. I think that's one of the hardest things as a Buddhist to be able to deal with. So to deal with it, you need to do the things in your life that will take care of that problem in your life. So my complaining about it isn't the solution. My complaining about it is just going to mean people complaining to me in the future. So I bring the former President Trump up all the time because that's the main, what's the term? That's the main part of my world that I have the most trouble with, is how people could not accept the fact that he didn't lose the election. But in his world, he did. In my world, he didn't. And whose world is right? And the answer to whose world is right is a very confusing statement that they both are. They're both right. How can that be? It's because my projections, my karma is making my world, and former President Trump's karma is making his world. Now the question that I battle with all the time is, how do those two worlds interact? I used to think in terms of karmic bubbles. I had a karmic bubble, and Mike has a karmic bubble, and where they touch each other is where we interact. So his self-existent, his projected world, my projected world. And this is the part that I wrestle with. And if anybody can help me with this, I'd be most appreciative. My karmic world, I'm projecting Mike or Wendy's or Sharon or Svetlana or Daria, Natalia, and Katya. I'm projecting you, projecting me, project you. And that's where it gets to be mind-boggling. At what level, where does it stop? So that's one of the things I accept. I just accept that I'm projecting, you project me, project you. And what the best thing I can do is see emptiness directly and finally understand what that really means. But until then, not worry about your projections of me because they're my projections of you. So if I want to see Katya happy with the teaching or happy with being able to go to the Heart Sutra in Spain, I need to be sure that I'm happy about good things happening to other people. I need to rejoice. So let's continue with this. So the mind-only school says the Buddha often says the world is only your mind. So the mind-only school says the Buddha said it. The Buddha said it's only my mind. And we're the only ones who followed what the Buddha said. That's the mind-only school. The Buddha said it's all mind only. If you ever get to paradise, your tantric paradise, it's mind only. So what does mind only really mean? Just labels to your own conceptions. The world is just what you label it. So let's go to the mind only, the Madhyamika Prasangika.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
Because you used the example of Trump's election
Yeah.
and him saying that it wasn't and the others saying it was, or the other way around, doesn't actually matter, because fact is he didn't win. So isn't the debate of the projection of one's own world the path, not the actual outcome? Because it doesn't matter how you look at it, fact is. Or isn't the fact a projection as well?
Well, the fact is a projection as well, because if the fact was self-existent, the fact that he didn't win the election, he would realize he didn't win the election. I see what you're saying, Camilla, and that's part of the conundrum of all this. How someone couldn't believe. Well, like to say to a Christian, the creator God makes no sense. But karma and emptiness make more sense. And you say that to a Catholic or to a Baptist or someone, and they look at you like you're absolutely nuts because they're right and you're wrong. But you're right and they're wrong.
But like you said, that's a belief. So that's in the head. That's a concept where either one became a president or didn't. I mean, they're pieces of papers, there are votes, there are ticks. Now, if one says that was fake and the other one say, no, that was real, then that's just a debate about the outcome. But it doesn't change the outcome. So that's why the two bubbles can exist.
Interesting. You're right. That wouldn't change.
Because that's why and that's without positive or negative. It's like Russia and Ukraine. There is a war, or what's happening in wherever in the world. There's just a war. So the fact is the war. But whatever the world and the projection is for this to happen, and this is how those bubbles are existing. I
Right.
don't know, just a
But
thought.
the war isn't out there by itself. The war is coming from everybody involved in it. So it's not that there's a self-existent war.
Yeah, so this is how the bubbles exist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the bubbles touching are the dispute of the fact. The two bubbles not touching, and they're separate worlds. The Trump supporters firmly actually believe that he won, or it was stolen from him. And the fact that they can believe that despite what we believed, well, what I believed to be the clear, obvious fact that he lost, just goes to show how the world is our projections based on our past karma. It's not out there self-existently. And so how the bubbles meet. So this is where I question the use of the bubble concept, because I'm projecting Trump and his supporters not agreeing with the election. And so my bubble is touching those bubbles, but they're both bubbles coming from me. So I try and deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And what I've found to be most useful for me, this just probably shows maybe karmic dharma laziness, but I think I'm perfectly comfortable understanding that my world is a result of my projections, which are a result of my seeds ripening in my mind stream. And if I want something to change in my world, I need to do something to change it. It's not going to change itself. It may look like it changes itself, but it doesn't. So if I want the Trump supporters to believe, to just stop this argument and believe, then I need to come up with a way of convincing them of that. And
But what does it matter? I mean, there are flat earth believers and round earth believers. What does it matter? What does it change? Don't understand.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a good, actually, I think the point you're making is it's not up to, from a karmic standpoint, it's not up to me to change someone else's mind. It's up to me to make sure that what I believe, how can I lost the train of thought. It's not up to me to change someone's mind. It's up to me to project a mind that
To
accepts,
heal.
yeah,
But isn't it about healing?
yeah.
Self-healing?
Well, no, I had the thought. It's not up to me. Let me see. It's not up to me to change someone's mind. Golly, it was actually fairly profound. It's not up to me to change someone's mind.
But it's up to you to touch someone's heart.
It's up. It's no. It's almost.
But it's up to you to touch someone's heart.
It's up to me. It's up to me to accept. It's up to me to accept. If I want to change this thing with Trump, I need to accept something that I don't find pleasant, but that is true. No, that's not. I'm not articulating that well. Because if you try and argue the election results, the fact that none of the voting things have been found to be tainted or or corrupted. It's up to me to accept something I don't like. Once proven to me. Because what's happening in my past lives, I have been exposed to something I didn't like, and I don't accept it no matter what the argument is, whether it's true or not. So if I want to have people in the future, in my future, accept basic facts and move on, then I need to think of an example where I didn't in this life, and that's what's projecting the events with the Trumpers. I'll have to think about that some more.
If I could offer up a perspective, maybe this is the lesson, is that accepting that their experience is their reality. It is true for them. It is their karma.
Yeah.
They're experiencing the results in the way that they did. And so that's accepting something that's true to them, which is not true to you.
Right. Right. So what's the question remains, is there an absolute truth? Just because I'm right doesn't mean you're wrong. That's from one of the Oceans film, which is, they're dumb films, but I like that. Just because you're right doesn't mean I'm wrong.
And I think you said it at the beginning, is that both experiences are true. Both projections are true due to karma. It's because there's multiple stages of karma, isn't there? That you have to have the karma for the thing to appear. And then there's levels of that appearance, and then there's levels of your understanding of it. In the same way, us with the Dharma, there was, if we all go back to a certain point in our lives, we didn't even know this Dharma existed. So we needed to have the karma for the Dharma to come into our life. And now we're going through that process, all of us, of learning it. And so is it the same? Can you apply that logic to the results of the election? That first of all, you need to have the karma to see the results of the election, the process that happened, to accept that, and then how you experience that. And so for some people, they have the ability to understand the process fully, so they understand what happened in that reality, and that is their reality because of the karma. Others don't understand it fully, and so the karma that they're experiencing is actually injustice through it. And so it's their karma that's created the information and the ability to be able to understand their reality. And everybody has that at different levels, in the same way we all understand this Dharma at different levels and different points in our lives. Maybe it's a way of thinking of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good analogy. But it comes down to the right, Svetlana.
Yeah.
That's a good example. There's the pen, and it's two things to two different entities, and they're both right because of their karmic situation. So Mike had a good point. Is there, I think this is the point he was trying to make, is there such a thing as an absolute truth? That would be a self-existent truth. Yeah, because what as Camilla's saying, there's the fact that the vote was tabulated, and this is what the vote was, and Trump lost. And the fact it was, he's not debating that it was tabulated.
No, that's not what I meant.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and explain it one more time for me.
But it's But just use a different example. They are the ones who believe in the flat earth, they're the flat earth believers, and then there are the round earth believers. Now, there are proofs, one might say, that the earth now is round and not flat anymore, but it doesn't matter. What does it matter? Because fact is it's round. But is it really? Or like he lost. Well, he didn't lose. Let's say he didn't become president again. That's a fact. Now, why? That's the debate. Does it matter? Fact is he didn't become president. And the ones who believe that it was all right, the votes were all correct and everything was okay, so they can be happy about the other half. They still argue because that gets to show that he's a bigger idiot than everyone ever thought he was. So we can rejoice the fact. What a wonderful, beautiful idiot he is. I don't know. So it doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't understand what it matters. Like the pen is a pen, but for the dogs is one thing and the others see something else. And is the pen still a pen when everyone leaves the room? Is it like this? But maybe I misunderstand.
No, I think, thank you, Svetlana, for bringing the pen into it. Because that's a good, to me, that's a good example of two very different viewpoints. But here's the conundrum for me with that is, if I'm not in the room to project the pen and the dog isn't in the room to project a chew toy, is there anything in the room to begin with at that point? Because I'm not there to project it, and the dog's not there to project it, and you're not there to project it.
I think it's still like there's somewhere in someone told me there's some elements where they talk about that there's an agreement that certain elements exist, and it's really what we're projecting is our experience of it. So the pen as a physical object, this thing exists, this thing that's made of plastic, has got ink and has got liquid inside of it. It exists when we leave the room. The experience of what it is changes. So I have the karma to see this as a pen, and I know I can write something with it. So when I'm in the room, I experience it as a pen. When a magpie flies in, it's a shiny object to take away. When a dog walks in, it's a chew toy, etc., etc. So it's the projected experience of the object, but there's somewhere in some texts that talk about the physical things, like there's like fire, water, air, and there's a couple more, say that they do exist regardless. It's then the projected experience of what this is, and someone else, so an enlightened being, may see this as something else that I cannot see it as. The most I can go to is that it's a pen or it's a pea shooter. If I chew up a bit of paper and I use it to shoot some peas, but that's it, you know. So I think that's the argument when we look at when the pen is in the room but everybody leaves. Is it still there? Yes, it still exists. It's a physical thing. It still exists, but the experience of it no longer exists in that room. It is just what it is fundamentally. Well, is what I've understood anyway.
Yeah, the existing part, maybe what it comes down to is the fact that my world consists of a large number of things that I have projected. And M, that's not the right. I have projected and I am in the process of projecting. So the fact that I'm not in the room, I project that room to have a pen in it. When I leave the room, I still have the karma to have something I call a pen existing in the room, because that's my karma. That's my projection of that room. I left a pen in that room. So as far as I'm concerned, my karma, the pen is still in that room. Now the dog leaves the room, and I don't know if they have the expectation of coming back in the room and seeing the pen or not. But so I think my problem is I tend to think very narrowly about the projection, and the projection for me to see my office includes the seeds to see everything in my office. And so when I leave the room, I still have the concept, the karma, the concept of my office and everything that's in it. And I think that helps. So I think the bottom line from class today is this idea, for me, is this idea of materializing. So the mind-only school says it's in our minds only. And if you don't understand what that means, you're basically going to say, because it's not outside, it's not a physical thing, I can do what I want. And the Madhyamika Prasangika school, the consequence school, says, no, it is the concept of the pen, the concept of the planet Earth is in my mind. I materialize that, and it is physically outside because I can get hit by a truck, or I can write a book, or I can teach a class. So I materialize that from what's in my mind, but I can't materialize this pen being, well, you can't even see it. I can't materialize this pen as a stick of diamond because I don't have the karma to materialize this as a stick of diamond. If I did, I could make it into a stick of diamond. So how do I make that karma? I'm incredibly generous to everybody, and at some point in time, that would potentially ripen as my seem a stick of diamond. But it requires what's in my mind for my world to exist. And that's where it's not self-existent. It requires my mind for the world to exist. So there's a cause and a result, not just a result. So if you understand even an inkling on that, a bit of that, then that makes it very clear why morality is so important in our belief system, because our world is coming from our movement of our mind. And if we hurt people, that's what's going to come, that's what's going to materialize in the world, our world as us being hurt. And if we're good to people, that's what's going to materialize as people being good to us.
Then why was Buddha chopped into pieces?
Excuse me? Why was what?
How did Buddha die?
Oh, he wasn't chopped
So
into
how
pieces.
can that? So
I don't know where, I've never heard he got chopped into pieces and died. He died, well, the king of Kalinka's story is, well, that, yeah, he's chopped up, and I have to think about that. Well, he got chopped into pieces because in a past life, he did something similar to somebody else. So I stop and I think of the things I did as a kid that I thought were funny, and how that's gonna come back to ripen on me. Maybe that's where my Parkinson's came from. The things we used to do as kids that seemed funny at the time are a little frightening when you think of karma, because even though I didn't know a thing about Buddhism, karma is still karma, and the deeds that I did without knowing what karma was are still karmic deeds and seeds that are planted. Okay. Well, that's all I have for this class. This is some pretty heavy slogging, and you're not necessarily going to get it right away. But the point is, the karmic seeds exist in our mind stream. There's no place we go and pluck one out and ripen it. They ripen as our actions and as our actions warrant. And that's why we rejoice, because rejoicing is, as the analogy that I've heard, I think it's not the strongest analogy, but it works, is rejoicing is like watering the seed you want to grow, like a tomato plant. If you want a tomato plant to grow, you need to water the seed. If you want a good karma to ripen, you need to water them through rejoicing. Now, how it rejoices, general rejoicing, I don't know how general rejoicing works versus specific rejoicing. That's a good question to ponder. I have to write that down. I'll have to think about that. Okay, now, I have a schedule. My student, let me look at my calendar. My student is going to be here starting Wednesday and through Thursday. So I think, well, if I hang on a minute, I'm trying to get my calendar to work. So she's going to be here. I'd like to postpone class 6 until next week. Since she's come all the way from Britain, I kind of feel I should make that a higher priority. So we won't have class on Thursday. We'll have class 6 on Monday. Okay, let's do the dedication. Hang on a minute. I'm just going to have to take another break here. Let's dedicate. By the goodness of what we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma top of the Buddhas, always increase. So we'll see you on a week from today, and we'll pick up with class 6. Now that's going to push these classes one more week. And that means course 11 will be on the 11th of July. Oh, this gets complicated. Well, here's the situation. I teach the White Tara practice the weekend of the 12th, 13th of July. We were scheduled to be done with course 5 on July 8th. But if I push the class this Thursday, then we're scheduled to be done on the 11th. And I have a doctor's appointment on the 15th. No, we'll keep. Okay, let me. Here's the schedule for the remaining classes. We'll teach 6 on Monday. Then there's 7, 8, 9. We won't have class on July 11th. And we won't have class on July 15th because I have a long-standing doctor's appointment. So our last class, class 11, will be on July 18th. And I apologize for the inconvenience, but I think that's best for all parties concerned. So just to give you a heads up on the schedule. And we'll look at this again on Monday, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. So. Okay. Thank you for being in my life. And I apologize, some of these teachings are a little confusing. But I'm doing my best to at least make sense to me. And hopefully begin to make sense to you guys. But let's finish the class, the course, and we'll see at the review. We can see if this is all making some kind of sense. Okay. See you in a week.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy, for your contributions. Okay, bye-bye.